This is the best freaking coaching call in the history of coaching calls. When I have coaching calls inside of the 1%, we can go really deep with people one-on-one, and this is the best one I think I've ever done. I'm going to be joined by one of our members, Louise, who's going through a lot of personal changes right now and is feeling doubtful about his launch and getting to the million over the course of the next 12 months. And in our time together, we unpack what is really holding him back, and so many of you are going to resonate with this. If you've been following my work for 3, 6, 12 months, and you don't have the business that you want and you can't figure out why you are not moving forward, this conversation is going to liberate you in order to make the changes that you need to make in order to have the launch, get to 25 sales a day, get to 100 sales a day, and have a multi-million-dollar business that you can sell. I want to publicly thank Louise for being vulnerable on this call, for sharing what's going on in his life, and being willing to play full out with me, because we were able to get so much work with his business done and with his mindset done in these 15 minutes or so. I wish I could do this with every single entrepreneur on the planet, because we would create change and we'd create a million millionaires. So thank you, Louise, and I want you to know I'm all in on you, dude. If you want to come to these calls live, if you want to be in the green room so that I can work with you one-on-one, you need to be a member of the 1%. You can do that at capitalism.com/1. Fill out a form. We can find out if we can help you. We can find out if you're ready to go through this personal transformation of building a multi-million-dollar business that you can sell. And once you're inside, you're going to meet people like Louise and the other members of the 1% who are going through this journey with you. And I will be leading these calls twice a month where I get to work with our members one-on-one. Here is the clip from one of the best coaching calls we ever had. Let's dive in. Good morning, Luis. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
You have beautiful hair, my friend.
I woke up. There's no water in my house. They're doing construction. It's my.
You just wake up with this beautiful hair every day?
I guess I don't know. Thanks, but yeah.
That's pretty impressive. Well, tell us about your business and how we can help.
Yes. Okay. So I've been on these calls recently, just really trying to work out everything that's going on, because personally, my life has kind of changed. I wanted to be a dad, get married, all this stuff, and then that didn't work out. So now I'm looking at men who want to become dads, because that's my own personal situation now.
Cool.
Yeah. So not only am I juggling doing emails and podcasts, I mean, I'm getting everything set up. So
you're building your audience right now.
Sorry?
You're building your audience right now, emails and podcasts and all this stuff.
Yes.
Good.
Yes. And I feel like I'm juggling so much, and you're talking about operators and influencers, and I just don't know how far I am to actually, get in touch with people, because, I mean, I feel like I'm confident one day, and then the next day I'm like, I don't even know if I can convince someone about,
Oh, well, welcome to entrepreneurship, my friend. I don't think anyone can relate to that feeling. Some days I feel like I got the magic touch, and sometimes I got the touch of poo. Yeah, we think we all feel like that. Well, here's the good news for you, Luis. You're doing the work right now of building relationships anyway. If you're doing podcasts and writing content, and you're doing the things of building an audience. I mean, I started my podcast in 2013. I've been building relationships along the way for 10 years, but it started with me doing podcasts in my house on South Lamar in Austin, Texas, right? In the rented bedroom that I had. Mm-hmm. So I was in the exact same spot as you, of just building relationships and seeing who I wanted to do business with eventually. I didn't even know what I was going to do. So you going and doing the work of building audience is relationship cultivation. We don't need to try to cash the check right now, meaning we don't need to go and try and marry the people that are in our life right now. We go build relationships through audience building. We go build relationships through customer cultivation, and out of that, your vision emerges. And your vision emerges for one product that you launch to this audience, and then the snowball starts to build. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I guess just being able to look at all the parts and put them all together, because I've got landing pages, and that, I'm trying to do the pre-launch at the moment. And one thing I realized is that I was fixed on the date, and I guess that stresses me out by saying, okay, I've been in the 1% since April, and I feel like I'm just not moving quick enough. And then I was on a previous call and they said, don't focus on the date, focus on the quality of what you can actually give people. So I'm just constantly going back and forth, and it seems like it's a lot, but that's what I'm just trying to continuously try to, get better at.
There's a couple directions I could take this, Luis. How deep you want to go on this call?
I'm glad that you're here. I don't know. I'm all in. I'm all in. If you are.
Okay. I'm gonna take a left turn here, Luis. You started this call by saying you wanted to get married and have kids, and that didn't work out. What do you mean it didn't work out?
My relationship just ended.
Why did it end?
Well, I feel like building this business is like pushing me towards like confronting certain things that I
I get that.
Yeah.
Keep going. I'm going somewhere with this, but so I genuinely want to hear. If you're comfortable talking about it, if you're not comfortable talking about it, you can tell me and I'll take a different direction.
No, I think it's good for me because I've just have done so many different things in my life. I've been able to travel and study and stuff, and only until now have I realized. I mean, once you said, "Oh, Mike, who is people who always wanted to be an entrepreneur," and entrepreneurship has never been brought to me until I basically heard a podcast of yours, and I'm like, okay, well, this is definitely what I want to do, and I don't do anything else. Like as soon as I leave work, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And being able to do this, reading all your mindset and reading other books that people have, I'm really like, okay, now I need to figure out my emotional state and my mental state, and I'm like looking at my own
like Pandora's box, right?
Yeah. And I really think that now I'm starting to choose people who I can feel like can make me the better person.
Good for you.
And that came at a cost of like really confronting my partner and saying like, I don't know, this is what I want. And I think I've always kind of knew that. And I just took the decision now, and I'd rather.
Good for you. So you ended it. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the reason I went there, Luis, is because as men, a part of our job is making hard decisions that make us uncomfortable and sticking to them. And it's really uncomfortable to do that if you've never done that before. It's like going to the gym. It's like nobody wants to go do deadlifts if they've never done deadlifts before because it hurts and it's uncomfortable and you look dumb and other people are swole and right. And making hard decisions and sticking to them and having the discipline to stick to them is really uncomfortable. That violates everything in us. And relationships are like that. When you know you need to end it and you resist it for like a year and you just don't deal with it, it goes on for years sometimes because we don't want to feel uncomfortable making changes. So I'm really proud of you for doing that. That is hard ass work. And I can tell that you've opened Pandora's box and you're going in this direction. I would encourage you to take that same level of discipline and clarity into setting a launch date and going for it. Now, I started thinking, maybe I need to tell Luis to back off his launch date, just like the advice that he got from other people, worry about the quality of work. I don't think that's bad advice, but I think it would also be really good for you to set a date that is comfortable enough in the future that you know that if you work towards it, you could hit that date. So like that might be September 15th, for example. It's more than 2 months out, more than enough time to be able to do all the work that we need in order to take an order, right? Might even be too much time. But we'll just say September 15th is the day that I'm going to work towards. And I post about it on social media to hold myself accountable. And now I've got to start documenting my journey and talking about my product to my audience. Within 75 days, that is more than enough time to be able to have 200, 300, 400 people on a launch list that we're going to take sales for. Whether the product's at Amazon or it's on our store or we're pre-selling it, that's more than enough time if we stayed disciplined and focused on getting that goal of taking a sale on September 15th. And so I would encourage you, like, this is such a beautiful time for you of training yourself to trust yourself, meaning you have an internal knowing to end a relationship, to launch this product, to launch this podcast. And now you're learning to trust that you can follow the desires that you have inside and doing the disciplined work of don't want to post that thing, don't want to have that conversation, but I promised myself I would. And I'm not even attached to the result as much as I am attached to becoming the type of person who is willing to do the work. Man, when you can do that, ooh, we get a new Luis. I mean, and I'll tell you what, like, I think there are lots of people on this call who would be attracted to that type of man and want to have kids with them, because there's a lack of men in that world. And there's a lack of that type of men in the world. And so there is this, I think, this beautiful opportunity for you to create the space for you to be the disciplined leader that you can become, that takes the sale, and the sale is a reflection of the work that you have been doing, and then you go build this business. I know I said a lot there, and that's super deep for a Thursday morning coffee and capitalism call, but I think that's where we needed to go. So I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I think, well, I spoke to one of my friends before I started this, because I have tried to do other businesses, and it wasn't until here that there was an actual framework that I could work with. And I kind of told him, like, I'm afraid of one thing, actually. And because a year before I had tried to do something online, and I said, I'm afraid of actually how far I have to go, like, into this to actually make it work, you know, because I'm on my vacation because I still work 9 to 5. And basically what I do is there's a festival here. There's a jazz festival. In the evening, I go and listen to music because that's what I love, music.
Good.
But if not, I'm just like focusing on this business and I'm not doing anything else. And that's what I said from the beginning. I'm like, I'm afraid as how far I'm going to have to, like, actually.
Are you afraid of what you have to give up? Or are you afraid of how much work it will take? Or are you afraid of how long it's going to take? What do you mean you're afraid of how far the journey is?
I'm just discovering this on my own. Like, I don't have anyone to really reach out to. And like, it's,
I mean, you're on a call with me right now.
then that's it. Like, other than that, and no, like, the 1% has helped me so much because I don't have anyone else.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what it's here for, right? So, like, I mean, I get it. That's why we have it as a community. But I understand what you're saying. Sometimes it's helpful to be like, I don't have anybody except for the fact that I'm in this group that cares about me and is blowing up the comments right now and would love to support you, and you're on a call with the guy that you trust that has the plan that inspired you to be in entrepreneurship. Like, don't discount that. Right? That's what we're here for. But please continue, because I like where you're going, and I think we're getting somewhere very meaningful.
No, and it's not fear of, you know, having to do the work or anything, because I just know that in the end it'll pay off. Like, I've studied, for example, and I've trained myself to say, well, I do something today and I'll get the result afterwards. It's not the hard work, and it's not giving anything up, because now I see people living the regular life. I'm like, you just kind of wasting your money. Like, do something.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But it's just like, this really is the 1%. Like, I don't know, it's scary. I don't know.
So like, I keep hearing you, and look, I'm probably psychologically projecting onto you, so forgive me for doing that. If I'm way off, you can tell me. But I keep hearing you say the same thing over and over, which is that I've opened up this new adventure for myself. I've opened up this new adventure of deciding, who do I want to be in a relationship with? Who do I want to become? What type of a life do I want to live? I never even thought about asking those questions before. And now I've opened up this whole new journey. And I'm like, holy shit, there's a lot of decisions to be made. And holy shit, there's a lot that I can define for myself. And here's the clincher. And I don't trust myself yet to make those decisions. I don't trust myself yet to be able to make the right ones. I don't trust myself to follow through on what I say I'm going to do. That's the subtext through everything that you're saying. And the beautiful part of that is that the work does not mean that you build $1 million business, although you probably will. The work means that you become the man that trusts himself to make the next decision. Because here's how this will show up in the rest of your life, Luis. When you become the man that trusts himself to make the right decision, and you meet the person that you want to have a family with, and it comes down to make a hard decision, old Luis will placate that person and say, what do you want? I'll do it however you want. And that's when you get walked on and the relationship ends. Or you can say, this is what I want. This is what I want for our family. This is the house I want to have. This is the area I want to live in. This is the life that I will create for us. And all of a sudden, people from all over the city hear that Luis is single and they start flocking in. Because he's a man of integrity who is impeccable with his word, who does what he say he's going to do. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think it's a lot of internal work.
Well, it may be, but something that I've learned through a lot of trial and error is that the internal work is, you can do it by analyzing your thoughts and figuring things out, and that takes a long time. Or when you trust yourself and you're a reliable person, the decisions are really easy. So we don't need to line up and clear up every little thing in our life. We need to be the type of person that is able to handle all of these decisions and make them and trust that you're doing the right one. So one way to, first of all, you've done one of the hardest ones already, which is to end a relationship that you didn't want to be in. That's hard ass work, right? That is there are very few things that you could do that would be harder than that. So setting a launch date, slightly easier in comparison to ending a relationship. And taking a sale for a product, slightly easier once we've built the muscle of ending a relationship and setting a launch date and ordering a product. Somebody else would say, man, taking a darn sale for a product, that's the hardest thing I could ever do. It's because they're not used to making hard decisions. We already made several hard ones. And so deciding to run that ad feels a lot easier because your muscle's a little bit stronger. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
But you're building the muscle of making decisions and working towards staying in alignment with the decisions that you already made. And the more that you can do that, the stronger that muscle becomes, and the next decision feels easy. For somebody else, it would be really hard because they're new in the gym. They've never done a deadlift before. But to you, you've done deadlifts by ending relationships and setting launch dates and working towards the launch date and figuring out how to ask for a review and raising your price. What's the logo going to be? Come on, this is easy. This is Bush League. This is easy. What area of the country do I want to live in? Easy. I've already launched a business because you trust yourself to be able to make those decisions. So I think your hero's journey is less about figuring out the brand right now, figure out every decision that's going to happen a year from now. And your hero's journey starts with, I've decided to launch my product on September 15th. or August 30th or whenever, and I'm going to prove to myself that I can take a sale. And man, when you do that, you'll be deliriously excited and proud of yourself. And then you'll go, oh, there's a whole other set of decisions I need to make. When does it end? And then we'll get on a call and we'll be like, it doesn't end. You just make the next decision.
I'm just hoping that, that it's such a work through and being able to get to the other side. Because, I mean, it just seems super difficult right now. But,
What do you mean? What feels difficult?
Just, for example, I was talking to Jared the other day, and
Jared Springer?
Yeah.
And awesome, isn't he?
Yeah. And he mentioned, really great. And he mentioned that he has a calendar and he looks at every day and what he did on that day and how he could actually build upon that instead of looking at, 10 months from now, because it just seems overwhelming. So I think, that for me.
Have you read, it's over here. Have you read The One Thing? You can't see it.
That is the next book, because I read just the Fast Lane Millionaire because it was also recommended. So I'm finishing that one, and then The One Thing is my next.
The One Thing will be a good read for you because the takeaway from that book is about lining up your dominoes. If I make this decision, it makes the next decision a little bit easier, which makes the next decision a little bit easier, and then you start stacking dominoes, and the domino that seemed completely impossible to knock over just falls naturally because you have momentum. And you're doing that right now. Like the domino of setting a launch date feels overwhelming. And so pick one that's comfortable. And we don't need to worry about the 100 sales a day, for 6 months after that, a year after that. But we'll have so many dominoes that happen along the way that will just naturally happen as we get momentum. So my advice to you is a little bit different than what somebody else gave you. It is about the quality of work. I think for you specifically, it would be a really good exercise for you to show yourself that you can commit to and follow through on what you say you're going to do, which is you're going to take a sale on X date. Do you know what your first product is going to be when you launch?
Yeah, it's suspension bands. So
okay. Great. So, I mean, if you already know what they are, you're already getting prototypes, then I would set a date, document the entire thing, show what product you chose or didn't choose, build that pre-launch list along the way, take a sale on that launch date, come hell or high water, and you'll be off to the races. And there will be a set of decisions that happen after that, but you'll have momentum behind you that makes that decision much easier.
I think one of the things that ultimately is, because I've just heard you guys say so much momentum, and action breeds, visibility for people wanting to actually participate in what you're trying to build.
That's right.
I'm constantly just trying to do things and some people.
Well, so here's the trap. Well, I'll make this point and then we need to move on, Luis. But there is a trap of confusing action with momentum, right? And doing more does not necessarily mean that there's momentum. So I would actually encourage you to do less, but build the momentum with those fewer things. For example, you said you're building an email list and a podcast. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, I've got freebies that I can try to get an email list going, that I try to a landing page on the podcast that I'm trying to do weekly. So
okay, great. So if you put all your attention into making a great podcast and building an email list, you'll have some momentum over 30, 60, 90 days. It may not be a ton, but it'll be some. Whereas if you see that Threads just launched and you're like, okay, I'm going to do Threads and Instagram and I'm going to do TikTok and I'm going to do a podcast, it's just going to be too much for you to have any momentum right out of the gate. So picking one or two platforms for you to document your journey and share content, and you build that traffic triangle. Your podcast is a perfect hopper. email list is a perfect conversion source. You could pick one other platform to share to get exposure and just do that. Just get good at that for 90 days. You'll have enough momentum to get sales on launch day, and that will be the momentum that takes you to the next chapter.
Perfect. Thanks.
Dudes. Thanks for being here. Great to be here.
Yeah, I'm super happy that you took my call. So yeah, thanks for getting, deep there.
You're welcome. Thanks for being willing to go there. All right, keep us posted.
Will do. Thank you.
Becoming an entrepreneur sometimes feels like opening Pandora's box. You see all of the things that are holding you back. You see all the areas of your life that you need to change. And that is freaking scary. Ask me how I know. Our members know, I know. When you go in a new direction, you've got to deal with things that need to change, and change never feels good. Dan Sullivan says that the difference between confidence and courage is that courage feels like crap, because you got to deal with things that are uncomfortable, but you have to go through that in order to have the confidence in order to be good at something. We all want the confidence, but we avoid the courage, which requires that we go in a new direction for long enough for us to develop the competence and the confidence for us to get the result that we want. And so I'm so proud of people like Luis, who is in the courage part of this process. It takes courage to go do something new. It's never going to be the right time. It's never going to be the perfect scenario for you to start something new. You just have to decide that you're going to go in that direction, have the courage to commit to it. And on the other side of that is everything that you want. If you want to start that journey, come get plugged into what we do here at capitalism.com. A good starting place is for you to create the business that has 4 products that get to 25 sales a day. And we can help you build that 100 sales per day business inside of the 1%. We call it that because only 1% of people ever become millionaires. And that's what we are in the business of doing, helping people build $1 million businesses by building 100 sales per day, 4 products at 25 sales a day. You can see what we do and apply to work with us over at capitalism.com/1. Thank you for watching or listening. I'm Ryan. I hope to meet you in person and have a conversation like this with you. See you next time.